Alright guys, it's time for me to review the last movie that I will see in 2013. It's a very sad moment, guys. Alright, hey there guys, what's up? It's Autobot-Mike18 here with my final movie review of 2013. That's right guys, in total, in both the theaters and at home, I've seen 42 movies this year, including this film I'm about to review. That's crazy, and I thank you guys for all the support and always watching my movie reviews. So anyway guys, in this video, I will be reviewing, I already saw it, I will be reviewing The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Now guys, I was definitely looking forward to The Secret Life of Walter Mitty for two main reasons. I wanted to see what Ben Stiller could do as the director, because Ben Stiller both directs and stars in this movie. And, you know, when the first trailer came out, I was like, wow, this movie looks really good. I liked the song they picked for the first trailer. I mean, a lot of good things were going for this film. And another reason why I wanted to see The Secret Life of Walter Mitty was because the story that this movie is based off of, I actually read it. Now, this film is based off the short story of the same name. It was written by James Thurber in, like, the 40s, 30s, 50s, I don't remember. But I do remember reading the short story when I was in high school. In my freshman year, it was in my English textbook, and I remember reading the short story. It stood out to me because I remember liking it. And I wanted to see what Ben Stiller could do with the adaptation on the big screen. So that's one reason why I was definitely looking forward to The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. And after seeing the movie, guys, I will say this much. I enjoyed this film for what it was. It's a beautiful film to watch. It's one of the most beautiful films to look at that I've seen all year long. Besides a few problems with the story and the script that I had with the movie, I enjoyed it, and I think it was a decent adaptation of the short story, even though there were a lot of changes, which I'll address. But right now, let me talk about the plot behind The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Now, as I said, it's based off the short story by James Thurber, and the movie stars Ben Stiller as the title character, Walter Mitty. Now, Walter Mitty is this middle-aged guy, lives in New York City, works for Life magazine. You know, he works like, you know, he takes like the photo negatives that they have that are sent to the magazine, and he gives them to, you know, he like fixes them or whatever, and they use them in the magazine, and they use them for the cover photos. And he's been working there for a very long time. And Walter Mitty lives a very boring, humdrum life, you know. He's been doing this for 16 years. He lives alone, and he lives a boring life. He hasn't done anything really exciting or anything noteworthy or anything like that. He hasn't really been to any significant place around the world. But the one thing that Walter Mitty absolutely loves to do is to daydream. He daydreams all the time. If you're having a conversation with him, he's going to be zoning out. He's not going to be listening to you. He's going to be daydreaming. And, you know, he visits new worlds. This is his escape. His escape from his boring, humdrum life that he lives is daydreaming. So, at one point in the beginning of the film, he's working on putting together the last issue of Life magazine, and he's working on getting together the cover image, you know, the cover for the magazine, the photo that he's going to use. He receives it from a very famous photographer played by Sean Penn in the movie, and he can't find the photo. The photo is missing that he wants to use for the cover image. He can't find it, so he, using clues from Sean Penn's character, he goes on a journey, and this is his real adventure. He's not daydreaming this. He's really going on this adventure to find this missing photograph, to put it on the cover of the last issue of Life magazine. And he ends up going on this crazy adventure that he never lived, and that he never actually did in his life. He never did anything fun or exciting, and now he's living that in this one adventure to find this missing photo. So that's the premise behind The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Now, one thing that really confused people with the trailer was, as they were watching it, people were saying, is he daydreaming all of this? Is he really going to go on this journey to find this photo? Or is he daydreaming the whole entire thing? Or is it like right there the whole time? So that's what a lot of people were wondering. But no, he's not. He does have there are several daydream sequences in the film. But he's not daydreaming the whole thing. He is going on this adventure to find this missing photo. So I just wanted to make that clear. That confused some people. But anyway, you know what, guys? Honestly, despite the fact that there are a lot of changes to the short story, which I don't think you can really complain about. I don't think anyone can really watch this movie and say, oh, I hated it because it was so different from the short story of James Thurber. Of course you gotta change some things for the movie, and you have to add some things on. If you don't like what they added in the movie, then, you know, there's no point in making the short story into a movie. You know, that's a very short story. It's like a couple pages long. Of course you gotta add a few things. I mean, I know he's married in the short story. He's not married in this one. I know that there are a few other differences, but I think that that's fine that they added a few things on. They changed a couple things around. That you have to do that in order to make this kind of movie adapted from a short story. So I like what they did with that. But honestly, one of my biggest problems with the film, my only problem with the film, is the story itself, which I will get into in the end of the review. But right now, I do want to talk about the performances very briefly. And the actors in this movie give average to, you know, decent performances. There isn't one performance in this movie that just blows you away. Early on in the year, before the movie came out, people have been talking, could Ben Stiller possibly get nominated for an Oscar for this? I think he's good in the movie. Do I think he's Oscar-worthy? Not really. And first off, this year is way too competitive to even think of adding Ben Stiller into giving him a Best Actor nomination. I really wouldn't, because this year is just too competitive. There's too many good actors that had great performances this year. But anyway, I think Ben Stiller was good, and one thing I liked, and I love when directors direct themselves in movies. For example, Ben Affleck in his movies, Ben Stiller directs himself in this movie, and I think he does a good job directing himself in the movie. Gives a decent Ben Stiller performance. We've seen Ben Stiller give good performances before, and I enjoyed his direction in this movie because I've never seen him direct a film before. This is the first Ben Stiller movie that I've seen him direct. And I liked that. I never saw a Ben Stiller directed film. But anyway, Ben Stiller was good in the movie. Kristen Wiig plays his love interest in the movie. She was good. I did have a problem with her character, which I'll get into in the end, but she gave a good performance. Kristen Wiig's kind of on fire in Hollywood now. She's been in a lot of good movies recently. Who else is in the movie? Adam Scott. Let's talk about Adam Scott for a second. Adam Scott plays like one of the executives in this, working at Life magazine. He's not Walter Mitty's boss, but then again, he kind of is. Walter Mitty has to get him this picture by, you know, this certain time, or else he's going to fire him. And Adam Scott, man, the thing I love about him, he plays an ass in every movie that he's in. I'm sorry for that, but he is. He's the jerk in this movie. He was the jerk in Step Brothers, which I loved, and he was great in that movie. He's the jerk into The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. He does such a good job playing the jerk all the time. I love Adam Scott. He's so funny. I'm not saying he's funny in this movie, but just Adam Scott himself. He's just a cool guy, and I loved how he played the jerk in this movie. And of course, he does a very good job playing that jerk. Sean Penn does come in with a brief cameo appearance that I really didn't, you know, I knew he was going to come into the movie. I didn't know that when he was coming into the movie, or so his scene was nice. A few other actors, Peyton Oswalt. That's really it. No one else really mentionable. The cast is good, not excellent. Just a decent cast here, guys. Now, moving on, guys. The film is rated PG. I want to talk about this briefly, and I feel that while this is definitely a family film, and I would recommend you check it out with your family. Like, parents could definitely, take young kids to go see this movie, and I think they'll be enjoyed by it. They'll be fascinated by what they're watching. There were a few scenes in the movie, with mainly the language in the movie. I felt, really? For a PG movie? Because, for example, I didn't know they used the D word now in PG movies. When I was a kid, I never recalled that, but apparently now it's okay to use the D word in a PG-rated film. Okay, so yeah, I know a lot of kids, so just beware, parents, when you bring your kids to go see this movie, they're definitely going to ask you at the end of the movie, Mommy, Daddy, what does this word mean? Just beware of that. Okay, guys, so moving on. While I did like The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, there were a lot of good things going for this film, namely the cinematography and the direction and where they filmed this movie. I do have a few major problems with the screenplay, but other than that, if they had fixed the screenplay, I would have loved this movie. So in the end, guys, I'm going to give The Secret Life of Walter Mitty an 8.5 out of 10. It's not cracking my top 10 list by any shot, but it is still an enjoyable movie to come out at this time of the year. It was a nice Christmas movie to watch. You know, it's the Christmas season right now. So guys, what I loved about the film, as I said, the cast all did good jobs in the movie. They all gave decent performances. Ben Stiller directing this film, just the way some shots were set up in the movie, you know, at the right angles, they were set up at the right angles. I feel the film was very well directed. In a few fight scenes, the camera was kind of shaking around a little bit too much, but other than that, I feel Ben Stiller did a really good job directing this movie, especially in one daydream sequence. It's one of the earlier daydream sequences that Walter Mitty has. And in that scene, it's just Walter Mitty's character and Adam Scott's character. They're just like flying around the city. They're doing all this crazy stuff. That scene just still intrigues me. You know, it still blew me away when I watched it. I really like some of the daydream sequences and the way Ben Stiller filmed them. So I think he did a very good job behind the camera and, of course, in front of the camera acting. Another thing that I loved about this movie was the film locations. They shot this movie in like 6 different locations, New York City being one of them, of course. But one thing that I know you guys are going to love about this movie is that it doesn't just stay in New York City. The film goes to like 2 other continents or something like that, or another continent, a few other countries, and that's one thing I liked about this movie. There are some beautiful shots in the film, yes, but what really adds to the beauty of these shots in the movie is the film locations they picked for the movie, and that's one thing I adore about this movie, is where they shot it, because it is a beautifully shot film, and the film locations add to it. So the set design, the production design, all that was really, really good in the movie. I also feel I really need to talk about the soundtrack and the score. The score was great. The soundtrack was beautiful. 2 songs played in the 2 trailers for the movie. The first and second trailer, they're played in the movie, and I love those 2 songs. One of them is Of Mice and Men's Dirty Paws. Look these songs up on YouTube. They're beautiful songs. And another one is Jose Gonzalez's Step Outside or Step Out. I think it's Step Outside. Don't quote me on that, though. Those songs are beautiful, and I love when they're placed in this film. This is definitely a very feel-good movie. It's a very sweet movie, and when those songs start playing, you just get that little feeling inside you as you're watching, and you're like, oh, this is a very sweet movie. I like what they did with this movie. So you definitely feel that. And another thing this is without a doubt the best part of this film. Now, while this film isn't Oscar-worthy by any means, really, in terms of Best Picture, Best Director, or anything like that, the film is definitely worthy for Best Cinematography. This is honestly one of the best looking films I've seen all year, and that's because of the cinematography. The shots that are set up, there are a few shots that are, over the head, the camera's like looking, the camera's like up in the air and it's looking down, and you see like the heads of people walking into buildings or something like that. I love shots like that. These crazy and, different shots that are set up in the film, I loved them. As Walter Mitty, he's getting ready to go to work, just the shots in his apartment as he's walking to work, the shots of him, climbing up mountains or whatever. Just beautiful, beautiful cinematography in this movie. That is without a doubt one of my favorite parts about The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, was just how beautiful this film looked. Also, the movie does have good visual effects when there are visual effects that are needed. So that's another thing I really enjoyed about the movie. It's just a beautiful film to look at. That's one thing I love. Now, guys, as for my only complaints in the film, as I said, really the only problem I had with this movie was the screenplay. It's just, here's the thing, the dialogue between the characters wasn't that bad. It was good. But, another thing involving the movie's genre, I don't know if this movie's supposed to be a comedy, a drama, or just a family film. It's kind of all those things mushed into one. Because some scenes there's comedy in them, but they're not funny. Some scenes are funny. So the comedy wasn't that great either with the screenplay. So that's another thing. And, so yeah, the movie really wasn't that funny. I don't know what to look at this movie as a genre. Like, I don't know what genre to put it in. Another thing, I never really became emotionally attached or invested in these characters. Like, Kristen Wiig's character, I really didn't care about her. Even Walter Mitty's character, even at points, I was like, I don't know why, I just never became attached to the characters, and that was probably poor writing. And another thing that really bothered me with the screenplay, I thought at the beginning, the first two halves of the movie were good, and I know the story was great, but the story come the third half, things started to get a lot messy. Walter Mitty's character was like in one place, and then he was in another place, you know, they rushed a few things in like the third act of the film. And that is another problem I had with the movie. Like, just things got messy. They you know, did a few things with the screenplay, with the story that, I don't know, wasn't a big fan of. You know, they jumped around. They got a little messy. And that's why I wasn't a huge fan of The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. While I still did enjoy it, as I said, I enjoyed it for the direction, the cinematography, the film locations where they filmed the movie, and how beautiful the movie looked, its visuals, and of course the soundtrack. That is what The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, that's why it is a good movie. And you know what, I am going to recommend you guys see this movie, because watching it on the big screen, that's a must. It's a beautiful looking movie to watch on the big theater screen. So that is why I will recommend The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, even though it's not one of the best well-written films of the year. It does have writing flaws. I still would recommend you guys see it. 8.5 out of 10 for me. And even though it was different from the short story, I still overall enjoyed it. So guys, what did you think of The Secret Life of Walter Mitty? Let me know down below in the comments. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What did you think about it? So guys, thanks a lot for watching my last movie review of 2013. Stay tuned for my top 10 best films of 2013 video coming very shortly. Thanks again for watching, guys. Bye.